Takuya Sato is 26 years old. He had a good job at an electronics company, but 6 months ago, he quit. He wanted freedom. Takuya said his manager often refused sick leave. He saw coworkers get very tired. One engineer did not take a holiday for 5 years. Takuya decided to leave this system because it demanded too much from people. Many young people in Japan are now like Takuya. They are not just changing jobs, they are saying no to the old work style. Recent numbers show this change. In 2024, about 45% of workers in Japan said they quiet quit. This means they only do the basic work. Young people in their 20s do this most often. Only 21% of young workers plan to stay at their job until retirement. This is much less than before. Also, resignation agencies help people quit their jobs. These agencies helped more than 30,000 people in 2024, a big increase from 2017. Some people say young Japanese are lazy, but this is not true. Young people are not refusing to work. They are refusing to work so hard that it harms their health or their life. They are saying no to a system that once gave security for life if you worked very hard. Now, this system still asks for everything, but it gives no real stability or good rewards. This is not about being lazy. It is about young people seeing that the old way is broken. Their parents worked very hard for companies, but these companies often did not keep their promises. This book will explain why young Japanese are leaving the old way of working. 2. The old way. After World War II, Japan needed to rebuild its country. It created a special way of working that helped the nation grow very fast. From the 1950s to the 1970s, Japan's economy became the second largest in the world. This unique employment system was built on 3 main ideas. These ideas made workers very loyal to their companies, and companies promised much in return. First, there was lifetime employment. Companies hired young people right after school or university. These workers then stayed with the same company until they retired. People felt like they were part of a big family at their company. The company promised to take care of them, offering a job for their entire working life. Second, pay based on age meant that your salary and promotions depended on how old you were and how long you had worked for the company. Your skills or performance were not the most important factors. This system made people want to stay with one company because leaving meant losing these benefits. Third, company unions were groups of workers within a single company. They worked to help their own company succeed, aligning worker goals with the company's goals. This system created the famous salaryman. This was a man who gave his entire life to his company. He worked very long hours, often 12 hours a day or more. After work, he often went to mandatory drinking sessions with his colleagues and bosses. Weekends could also include company activities. He often missed time with his family, and his wife raised the children mostly alone. In return for this complete loyalty and sacrifice, companies promised security, respect, and a good middle-class life. Workers could buy houses and start families, knowing their jobs were safe and their future was secure. This system created a stable workforce and was seen as a key reason for Japan's success. People admired the salaryman's dedication. It was a clear deal: total loyalty for total security. For many decades, this old way worked very well for Japan. 3. The broken promise. In the early 1990s, Japan faced big economic problems. The country's strong economy, which had grown fast for many years, started to slow down. The stock market, where companies' shares are traded, fell very much. House prices also went down a lot. This time was called the beginning of Japan's lost decades. The promise of economic growth that had helped the old work system for 4 decades came to an end. This meant that companies could no longer easily keep their promises of lifetime jobs to all workers. Companies had to change how they worked. They could not fire many permanent workers because of old rules. So they found another way to save money. They stopped hiring new permanent employees. This period, from about 1993 to 2005, was called the Employment Ice Age. During this time, companies hired far fewer new graduates for full-time, permanent jobs. Instead, they started to use more temporary, contract, and part-time workers. Because of this change, more jobs became less secure. In 1990, about 2 out of 10 workers were not permanent. But by 2015, this number doubled to 4 out of 10. This meant over 20 million people worked without the job security, good benefits, or clear career paths that had been normal before. These non-regular workers often did the same jobs as permanent employees, but received lower pay and had no long-term security. The old promise of a stable job for life was broken for many people. Young people entering the job market during this ice age faced a very different world from their parents. University graduates who once expected to join big companies for life now found it hard to get any good job. Many took part-time jobs with no benefits and no future. This generation faced much uncertainty, unlike their parents, who had clear paths to stable, middle-class lives. The promise of lifetime employment was no longer guaranteed. Older workers still had their secure jobs, but younger workers often found themselves in a new, unfair system. They saw their fathers, who had worked hard for their companies, lose their jobs or get less pay. This showed young people that the old promises were gone. 4. A hard life. Japanese work life has a very dark side. For many, it is a hard life. One big problem is karoshi, which means death from overwork. This shows that working too much can be deadly. Matsuri Takahashi was a young woman, only 24. She worked at a big advertising company. Matsuri worked over 100 hours of extra time monthly. She felt very tired and sad. Sadly, she took her own life in 2015. The government said her death was karoshi, meaning her work caused it. Japan officially reports about 200 karoshi cases yearly. But some believe the real number is much higher, maybe 10,000 deaths each year, from heart attack, stroke, or suicide. Another serious problem is pawahara, or power harassment. This happens when bosses use their power to treat workers badly. A survey showed that over 30% of workers had faced pawahara. This can be a boss shaming someone, giving impossible tasks, or making them feel alone. It often involves rude words. Workers suffer from sadness and worry. Many feel too ashamed or afraid to ask for help. Also, many workers do service overtime. This is extra work that is not paid. Workers often feel they must stay until their boss leaves or go to after-work social events. This unpaid work adds many hours. On average, people do almost 30 extra hours monthly. For some, it is 80 hours or more, a level linked to karoshi. This hard life makes people very tired. They have no time for hobbies or family. It greatly hurts their mental health. Japan's high suicide rate is partly due to work problems. Many young people have seen their parents struggle and get sick from work. They realize this life, despite promises, does not bring happiness or health. They want a different way to live. 5. New ideas. Younger Japanese people today have new ideas about life and work. They belong to generations called Yutori and Satori. These names show they think differently from older generations. These young people grew up seeing the failures of the old work system. They are practical and have chosen a different path for themselves. They value their personal time, hobbies, and mental health very much. They do not think that a high salary or moving up quickly in a company is the only way to be successful. 6. Different ways to work. Young people in Japan are now finding many new ways to work. They are saying no to the old system. These choices show they want freedom and a better balance between work and life. One group is called freeters. These people choose part-time or temporary jobs. For example, Yuki, 28, works at different places, like a store or teaching English. She went to university but avoids typical company jobs. She wants to leave work on time and have time for her hobbies and friends. Freeters trade job security for more control. There are over 1 million freeters in Japan. Another group is quiet quitters. These workers do only the minimum work required. They don't do extra work or stay late. Almost half of all Japanese workers now say they are quiet quitters, especially those in their 20s. Many want to keep working this way always. They feel their hard work is not valued, so they do just enough. Next are job hoppers. In the past, changing jobs in Japan was not common and could be seen negatively. But now, more young people are changing companies. Nearly 1 million workers changed full-time jobs in 1 year, a big increase. Companies need workers, so employees have more power. Firms must offer better conditions to attract talent. This shows lifetime employment is changing. Some young people leave work entirely. These are called NEETs or hikikomori. NEETs are young people not in school, working, or training. Hikikomori are people who stay at home for a long time, not going out. Japan has many hikikomori. For some, it is a way to escape the high pressure and difficulties of the work system. They feel the costs of working are too high. 7. A country changes. In Japan today, the way people work is changing a lot. Many young workers do not want the old work system anymore. One big change is the rise of resignation agencies. These companies help people quit their jobs. For example, in 2024, these agencies helped over 30,000 people quit. This is much more than in 2017, showing how many workers want to leave their jobs differently. Almost 1 in 10 Japanese companies have seen workers use these agencies. Younger workers use them more often than older ones. This shows a big difference between generations. Another important change is that Japan now has fewer workers. The working population will get much smaller by 2040. This means companies need workers more than before. Because of this, employees have more power to ask for better working conditions. Some companies understand this and are changing. For example, some tech companies now let people work flexibly. They care about what workers achieve, not just how many hours they work. A few companies have also removed old rules that led to power harassment. However, many traditional companies still work in the old way. They expect employees to be very loyal and work long hours, but they do not offer job security like before. The Japanese government has also tried to make changes. For example, Premium Friday started to let workers leave early 1 Friday a month, but it did not work well and stopped. New laws set limits for overtime, but these limits are still quite high. Despite slow changes from some companies and the government, workers are finding their own ways. Using resignation agencies, quiet quitting, and changing jobs more often are ways workers are showing what they want. These actions are slowly making big changes in the country's work culture. 8. The future of work. This story has shown how young people in Japan are choosing a new path. They are saying no to old ways of working that caused much stress. This change is called the Great Refusal. It is not the end of work culture in Japan, but a new beginning. Young workers are not lazy. They are simply rejecting a system that has failed them and their parents. This movement creates a space for something better to grow. The future of work must be different. It should serve human life, not demand everything from it. Young people want a future where their jobs make their lives better, not worse. They are bravely looking for new ideas. They believe work should create good conditions for people to live well. They do not want to sacrifice their health or happiness just for their jobs, like previous generations did. When young workers choose to quietly do only what is asked, or change companies often, or use agencies to quit, they are showing their demands. They are not giving up on Japan. Instead, they are bringing back important values. They choose human dignity over strict company rules and endless work hours. They prioritize personal relationships and their own well-being over company loyalty. They want a stable and happy future, not just working until exhaustion. These actions come from a deep care for themselves and for their potential families. It is also an act of care for a Japan that sometimes forgot to value its own people. The Great Refusal is not a crisis for Japan. Instead, it is a big chance for the country to become new and better. It is an opportunity for Japan to remember that its people and their happiness are the most important things. What do you think will be the biggest challenge for Japan as it faces this new future of work?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.